Magnum, Dusty was kind of like that, obviously for Crockett and everything to that aspect. Is there another guy that really was like the blue collar kind of people could really relate to, maybe on a smaller level than Dusty? I know Dusty kind of epitomized that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys back in the day, from Jim Crockett Promotions, that whole thing growing up. I mean, that was a common theme, kind of. I mean, you had your guys that wanted to be, represent the Hollywood jet flying kind of looking deal. Besides Flair, I mean, that was people that wanted to be presented as a superstar. But I mean, guys like Rufus Hart Jones and guys that could talk so well and relate to people, every day. Because again, it really, that was our bread and butter. I mean, certainly we had the professionals and doctors and lawyers and everything else that followed wrestling, but that hardcore group that came down and paid their hard-earned money every week and watched it were, by and large, the blue collar fan. And of course, yeah, Dusty tapped into that to the nth degree.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody could tug on their heartstrings like he could and talk about things that were relevant and in that they could relate to. And that Hard Times interview that he did was a classic to this day. Yeah.
Probably my all-time favorite promo, I would say, is that promo. I think if I had to pick one. Is there when he like certain moments? Is there certain things that really stand out to you that Dusty did with the current times from a promo perspective that he connected with, like something that was topical at the time that really resonated with fans at the moment, and anything like that? Is there a certain news outside of wrestling kind of topic that he kind of tackled? Is there something that stands out to you, Magnum?
He was always stretching and to try to be. I mean, he pictured himself, like when Muhammad Ali and Joe Frazier were feuding,
Yeah.
and he had that, that gift of gab, and as a matter of fact, they had Joe Frazier, refereeing one of the matches between him and Flair,
Mm-hmm.
early on, for that reason. So he was always, wanting to. He wanted to relate to those people, but he wanted them to see him as this massive superstar. I mean, his thing was creating a superstar persona, and people that he wanted to draw money with. That he called, if you were a big money ball player, and he designated in his head that that's your role and that's where you were to be. He did everything to craft it around you to put you on that pedestal and put you in that spotlight. And yeah, and he was the absolute master of it. And the time that he and I worked so closely together, he wasn't pushing himself that hard because
Mm-hmm.
he had an agenda for me, but he was still keeping, he was still keeping the feud and the things going. He knew when there was mileage still left in something. He wasn't like the kind of guy that was going to beat a dead horse when there were so many successful things going on around him. But I mean, the fact that he could still go out there with Flair and go 30, 45 minutes, and they could tear the house down. You know, at again, I think Dusty was about, so Rick's 10 years older. Dusty's was about 14, 15 years older than me. And he still had plenty in the tank and could still do it. Um, but again, like, it's so different to see him in his Florida days and Florida Championship Wrestling and what he did on, Georgia Championship Wrestling before all this happened and until it evolved into, the Crockett promotion and a coast to coast type business. It was just, it was amazing kind of watch all those transitions go because, I mean, he basically wanted to be the star as long as he could, but he also got a great deal of satisfaction out of being the Cecil B. DeMills,
Yeah.
create the magic, and I mean, he could dream some stuff up and talk it. And I don't know if you ever remember when they did the vignettes with WCW, and they had Dutch Mantel and Black Bart and somebody else, and doing this Western stuff. And I mean, it went up like to Ghost Town in the Sky or something, and shot all these things. It was like classic television. It could have been a sitcom, and it was just to push this little group of guys that they had no intention of doing anything but having them kind of in the middle of the card and, bouncing around and being entertaining. Randy Colley, he was the other one in it. But it was so funny that, he could, he could come up with an idea and they could go do something that was almost completely improvisational and it'd be better than something anybody could sit down with a screenwriter and come up with. So he had that gift and that magic touch for creating these very unique things. And just if he'd ever hit on if the right person had seen it at the right time, Hollywood would have swooped him up.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
Was Stan Hansen playing for that group by chance, you think?
The what?
Was Stan Hansen playing for that group you were just talking about, Magnum?
I still didn't get it. You broke up.
Stan Hansen?
I still didn't get it.
Oh, you still didn't get it. Stan Hansen?
Stan Hansen, no.
No?
It was like it was Dutch Mantell and Black Bart.
And the other guy.
And
Tom
Colley?
I think it was Randy Colley.
Randy Colley.
They were like they had the old Western hats on and the long rider coats and all the stuff. It was hilarious. I know Dutch probably doesn't remember it with fond memories because I think he's got some very opinionated views of some of the things Dusty did.
Really?
But Dutch doesn't really mince his words, but it was just good stuff. And Dusty would, rub elbows with, Willie Nelson and Hank Williams Jr. and all these folks. And he just, he reveled in just that thing. He was in the limelight, whether he was in the middle of the square circle or if he was holding court at the corner of the bar. It didn't make any difference.
He fit right there.
Yeah. The personalities you got back then, and I think of the Crusher and Dusty and all the other greats that came through. They were so phenomenal on their interviews, and nobody wrote interviews for them, and they were very creative and came up with these unbelievable things. I mean, Crusher would come out with those sunglasses with the glass out, the big cigar, You talk about doing the polka with Wanda the night before, 250-pound Wanda. That's all he danced with, the big Polish gals, and everybody could relate to that, and that's what made those people so popular. Same with Dusty. He related to that average guy out there, they put people look at athletes and, they put you up here. And when you can come down to their level, that's when you have tremendous success. And when the people can relate to you. And that's why the interviews were so important, because that's where you got the real personality, the real character of the person that came out.
Right.
And a lot of guys who tried to be somebody they weren't were never successful.